Today on Steampunk Minecraft. We've built a lot of things in this create mod world, so one thing I can't understand is how we have yet to build a simple create mod bridge, but this bridge is going to be anything but simple. With the power of my entire create mod arsenal, we're going to build a bridge that's not only fancy, it's going to be functional and just downright fun. Let's get started. This is the next episode of Steampunk Minecraft. You want to play mod packs with friends, but you can't seem to find a good server. And the free ones? With the big mod packs these days, free servers are just too laggy. Luckily for you, there's BISECT hosting. They host my server, and with plenty of affordable options, they can host your server too. And the best part is, they support almost every mod pack. Use code Doublesal at checkout for 25% off your first order. BISECT hosting, a great site for great servers. Today we're going to start this video on a bridge because, well, if you clicked on this video, then you know why. We're making bridges, and we're not just going to make any bridge. We're going to use the tech we have at our disposal to make an automated drawbridge. So let's get started by gathering some oak logs, and like all great things, you have to start with oak logs. I mean, come on. They're an essential building block. You add some brass to make some brass casings, and then you break them with your wrench, and like that, we have brass casings. We gotta make some cogs as well, and then we're gonna make what's called a sequenced gear shift. Fancy looking block. After that, we have to make some chassis, and with the chassis, that's gonna act as a main component for our drawbridge. We also have to make a mechanical bearing if we actually want our bridge to move, and then once we have all of the essential blocks built, I decided that it would be appropriate for us to build a prototype. But first I have to deal with these horrible monsters. I think these are the worst mobs in the whole game, and after that well, I'm gonna be honest, I deleted them from the mod pack. I just hated those things. Even the flies that they leave behind, but I'm ranting. Here I am building the platform where we're gonna build our new bridge, and there's the fly again. Anyways, let's build a prototype. I terraformed some of the land with my shovel, and once we had a nice flat surface, I built what looked like a little boardwalk or a pier or just a platform. I added some stairs that would act as the base of this bridge along with some support columns. And now we're going to build two separate parts of the bridge because this isn't going to be like your stereotypical castle drawbridge. This is going to be a dual drawbridge, like one you'd see in a river. You know, a bridge that raises and splits down the middle? One of those. So here I am working on the first end, and of course you have to glue it all together. So once we have the glue down and the bridge is all glued up, we're going to add this here mechanical bearing. And once the mechanical bearing is properly positioned, all we have to do is apply the sequenced gear shift. Here I am toggling with the settings for the mechanical bearing. And basically the sequence gear shift allows us to determine how high we want to raise our bridge, as well as how low when the bridge descends back to its default position. Once that's all set up, all we have to do is give it some power. We're going to use a basic water wheel in this case. And the rotation of the water wheel actually matters. You'll see what I mean when we get to that. But there you go. With the push of a button, the bridge raises. With the push of a button again, it descends back down. So all we have to do is build the exact same thing on the other side, and then we'll be one step closer to making a phenomenal bridge. So here we go, I'm putting it back into the default position, and now let's go to the other side. So this is going to be where it gets a little tricky, because while we got it to work on the other side, and getting it to work on this side is going to be easy as well, we actually have to sync their movements. So how do we get both sides of the bridge to open and lower at the same time? And look, that's why I talked about the position of a water wheel. If the water wheel is flowing the wrong way, the bridge is going to go down. So yeah, you want to make sure that the water wheel is flowing in the proper direction, and you just adjust it accordingly. Eyeball it, basically. Anyways, here it is, the bridge is up. Now let's get them synced together. So here's what we're going to do. In order to get the proper outcome, we have to craft a block we've made before in the past. That block is called a redstone link. Pretty simple to make. Basically, there's 3 of them involved, and one sends a signal to the other 2, and they basically apply redstone to whatever block needs power. So basically, think of it like wireless redstone. So we're going to craft our redstone links here, and if the concept of a redstone link is a little tricky to fathom, you're going to see how it works when we use it in this example. Make sure that the redstone links both share the same signal, and you can determine the signal based on whatever block you want to use. For example, we're using a brass casing here, so they'll both be on the brass casing signal. And here I am setting up the sender, and once the sender is set, all I have to do is press a button, and it'll send a signal to the receiving links. And like that, the bridge movement is now synced. all with the power of a redstone link. Now that we have the basic concepts of a drawbridge mastered, it's time to scout a location for the perfect drawbridge, and I'm planning on building something of a massive scale. So to do a scouting mission, we're going to take the plane. I think it's been a long time since we've used this. I'm pretty sure it's been a long time. Maybe months. We're always flying with a gyrodyne. So we're going to dust off the plane and take it out for a flight because we need to find the perfect spot for our drawbridge. Now, once I get this plane off the runway, and excuse me if my flying isn't optimal, it's been a while since I've taken the plane out for a flight, but basically we have to take into account the geographical requirements to build a bridge. Number one, the bridge has to get us across something, whether it be a mountain, or whether it be across a ravine, or a river, or an ocean. The point is, we have to get across something. I'm not just going to place it in the middle of a forest. Number two, the scale of the bridge is going to be massive, so whatever gap it is we're crossing, it has to be large. I decided to take the plane down in front of our harbor, or our soon-to-be harbor, seeing as how we only have one boat docked there. And the reason I decided to land the plane here was because if we're going to cross a massive body of whatever it be, water or a canyon or something, well, what better body to start with than an ocean? So we're gonna have to get over this little chunk area. That was kind of weird. There is our beautiful Titanic. Check out the video if you haven't watched it already. But the goal is to find a big enough gap, but not too big. I'm not trying to build this massive suspension bridge. I got back into the boat and rode further into the water, hoping to find another landmass that I could connect to from my starting point, and thankfully there was. And this was going to be the perfect distance between the starting point. You can see it over there, just rendered far ahead. It wasn't too far, but you know what? It was a decent distance for the type of bridge I wanted to make. And this was going to be a grand bridge, hence the reason I needed quite a big distance. So I started putting this whole thing together in my separate creative world. I went for a gothic design, building with sandstone, but you know what? I wanted it to look a little, what's the word? Imposing? Yeah, that's it. I wanted the bridge to look imposing. This was going to be the tallest structure in that entire area, and you know what? You can just tell by the way I'm scanning this bridge. I mean, come on, I had to fly multiple chunks just to scan the whole thing. This bridge was going to be massive. I think it's probably the biggest structure on the world yet. No, maybe second biggest structure, second to the Titanic. But I went back to the clock tower to go gather the schematic cannons that we had left behind from the previous video. Lord knows we were going to need them to build this bridge. And I also went to go collect my toolboxes, which I had left there. They probably had some sandstone from the clock tower build that we had made. And of course, with my schematic table, I was able to download the blueprint I had designed in the creative world. Once that was done, I picked up my toolboxes, and now it was time to make the journey all the way back to the bridge site. And here's for reference just the map and the gap we were going to have to cover with this bridge. It was going to be almost the length of the Titanic, and the Titanic is pretty big. I set down my table there, I also positioned the cannon, and now it was time to place the preview of the massive bridge. You can tell there based off of the holographic outline, and excuse the lag. When you have something that's that big and you're just projecting it onto your world, there's going to be a little bit of a delay. So I positioned the bridge properly, just, I had to eyeball it. Sometimes you don't get it perfectly. But while I'm doing that, if you made it this far into the video, please leave a like. It helps a lot with the channel. And if you want this bridge build, the download will be available on Patreon. Anyway, that's enough shoutouts for now. Let's get back to making a bridge across this massive gap of an ocean. So, here we go. This is what we're gonna do. With the bridge now properly positioned, it was time to fuel the cannon with gunpowder. It started building, and a long time later, we were left with this massive, elegant, imposing structure towering over the bay. Finally, we had made ourselves a beautiful, grand bridge. Not just any bridge, it was a drawbridge. This bridge actually worked. Now, you don't get to see that yet because we actually have to provide it a source of power for the center bridges to actually raise and lower. So let's get a little closer here so you guys can see what we're working with. So here is the underside of the bridge, and it splits right down the middle. And if you don't know where the inspiration came from, I actually used Tower Bridge in London as a reference. There's a picture. And now let's actually cross this thing. So this is actually a mix between Tower Bridge and the Golden Gate Bridge. You can see the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. I got that inspiration with the, the suspension and the colors. It's orange. It's a mix of the two. And they're both beautiful bridges, but yeah, it does the job, it gets you across, but we're missing the one fundamental part of this drawbridge, the drawbridge aspect itself. So I went back to the iron factory to go get some torches so that we could light up our work site, because we had to work on the more mechanical functions of this whole thing. With some lanterns in hand, I began placing them down just a little randomly, just so that the monsters wouldn't spawn. The worst thing that could happen right now is a creeper blowing up and me plunging into the hole below, down into the cold, dark water. We can't have that. So I illuminated the whole thing and began setting up a similar system like the prototype, you know, water wheel, redstone link, mechanical bearing, all of that. You press the button and that is not supposed to happen. So if that happens, that means you didn't glue your bridge properly. So go back and give it a nice glue over. Here I am going over the whole thing again. And a little off topic, people have been saying that my voice sounds like AI. Do you guys think that my voice sounds like AI? I can promise you with 100% certainty that I am not a bot. Of course, that's what a bot would say, but I'm human. So leave a comment if you think my voice sounds like AI. Anyways, back to what really matters. I added rotational speed control to determine how fast the bridge raises and drops, and now all we have to do is watch it in action. I linked the controls to this redstone remote so that I could manually activate this bridge wirelessly from any distance. With the push of a button, we're gonna activate this bridge. Let's do this. And boom. With that, the bridge is now alive. We finally did it! A working drawbridge. With that out of the way, it's finally time to get a closer look and see how it looks from underneath. So I rode closer to this beautiful grand creation, and I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. I thought it was going to turn out a lot worse. Here I am giving it another go because it's just so satisfying to watch, especially when the bridge drops back down and you see the gap close. I don't know what these things are. Somehow the bridge was invaded by scallops, so we're gonna have to do something about that later. But let's make our escape from the scallops. How are we gonna do it if the bridge is raised? Oh, I have an idea. Let's use the remote and lower the bridge back down so that we can safely get across without getting killed by that disgusting shellfish creature. And like that, we finished the bridge. Well, that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you want the bridge download, like I said, it will be available on Patreon. Thank you so much. This has been Doublesal. Have a great day.